Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second session of the market awareness series that we are doing. I'm Taha Malik. I'm part of the Headstart volunteer team and welcoming everyone to join us for this series. Just a quick background to everyone. Over the course of the emails that you may have received, Headstart has recently launched a program called Beyond. We see a great amount of interest in founders in India exploring international market. And that's where we thought of creating a program that helps founders understand a better understanding of how new markets, what are the possibilities over there, and how does a founder being able to grow into these regions. I do see some familiar faces, folks who have joined in the last session as well. Over the next couple of weeks, what we're doing is we're doing a series of awareness sessions around UAE market. UAE is one of those markets where we see a great amount of interest from Indian founders, not just Indian founders, in general. Over the last 20, 30 years, India, UAE has continued to be, biggest partners together, be it in trade, be it in manpower. The largest diaspora of Indian NRIs are currently in Dubai or in UAE, 3.5 million. And I think that's a huge number that we are having. And the intent is that, as more founders look at establishing themselves in this region, we want to give them a better understanding of what this really market entails. We kickstarted our series with the first session on SaaS last week, had an amazing turnout, great engagement and sessions with founders. Today, we are in the next phase. The next phase is even more exciting. It's about blockchain. Blockchain continues to be, growing across the world, but Dubai especially has become the hub for all the blockchain developments, and not just founders from India, but founders from across the world are now, coming into this ecosystem and taking a lot of value from here. We have a great panel with us, people from investment, founders, community, enablers background who have been in this ecosystem, who have seen this ecosystem grow. And the intent is today just to learn more about the blockchain ecosystem in UAE. And for that, let me invite first Harsha. Harsha is also a volunteer at Headstart. He's a founder at building a game on blockchain, Born to Die, an amazing concept that he has been building on with his team. He also moved into UAE last year as a founder himself, built a community and growing over here. And we felt that he could be the best moderator to bring this panel on and have the engagement. Harsha, over to you.
Thank you, Taha. Thank you so much for the introduction. First of all, guys, welcome to the second workshop, Blockchain in UAE. I think this has been one of the most asked and sought out sessions because UAE itself has become such an amazing destination for Web3 startups and the whole ecosystem. Just a quick intro. I'm a co-founder at Cetaverse Labs. We're basically building a Web3 shooter game called as Born to Die. It's one of the first AAA class blockchain games. Before this, I used to lead technology at a company called as Screen. So we basically pioneered influencer marketing since 2016. We were basically using data analysis to help brands kind of bring value to them. That's about me. And without wasting time, let's quickly just jump into the whole session itself. Maybe we'll start with a quick intro of all our panelists to start with. Let's start with Aniket. Aniket, maybe a quick intro about who you are, what's your company, what's your background to just get started.
Thanks, Harsha. Thanks a lot, guys, for having me. This is Aniket here. I'm founder of Biconomy. Been in the space for over 6+ years now. So I've kind of seen I think this is like my third bear market or something. But anyways, that doesn't stop the building part there. What we are building at Biconomy is we're building like a UX platform that enables like mass adoption for the applications. So we build like a complete AA stack, call it like a wallet as a service kind of a stack, where we work with applications like Born to Die to make sure the normal users who have no knowledge about crypto are able to use blockchain applications.
Awesome. Aniket, before Biconomy, what was your background? Like, do you have Web3 experience before this, or do you like to share a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my entry into Web3, I call it like Chinese serendipity, because I was never into Web3 and it's been 7 years. Like I got into the space and I joined in like 2016. And prior to that, I was handling my family business. So I come from a Web -3 background because our business was very traditional manufacturing business with no major tech, like last technical innovation that happened there was like in 1970s or something. So from that, like totally jumped to Web3. That too happened. As I said, like it was I was in China. I got scholarship from MIT Sloan and Fudan University, part of which I was in Shanghai for about a year and a half, and happened to be the right time, the right place, because things were just getting started up, and China used to be the kind of epicenter of all the exchanges back then, and I was fortunate enough to work with one of the exchange. So I worked with Binance, like when it was a small exchange of 30 people. I was joined as an intern just to learn things, and 6 months into the course, like it was I think a lot of learning, and probably like a deciding factor for me to start something of my own as a move back to India.
Amazing, Aniket. Thank you so much for being here. We're looking forward to hearing, your journey of, like starting from a family business, then now moving to, Dubai to start a Web3. I mean, like moving your Web3 company here, and looking forward to hearing more. Moving ahead to Aneri. Aneri, would you like to kind of share a little about what you do? I think a lot of the folks are tuning in because you handle the whole fundraising, and people will be more curious on why Web3 fundraising and Dubai, etc. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Harsha. So I'm an Aneri merchant, and currently I am an investment manager at XVC Tech. XVC Tech is a 100 million fund, and we fund companies that are into Web3 space, or maybe companies that want to transform into the Web3 space. So essentially, a traditional fintech or insurance company, which is Web2 currently and wants to move to Web3, we help with the entire integration. XPC is backed by the founders of XDC blockchain network. So we have a very good element of the blockchain. So we are actually like a more strategic investors whenever we invest, not just financially. And we have just opened up our fund in January this year. Prior to this, we have done investments through the XDC network. So yes, that's a little bit about the fund. And prior to this, I have around 10, 11 years of experience into investment banking. I have worked across India and Hong Kong with companies such as Citibank, CLSA, BDO, Deloitte. And I just moved to Dubai last year in Feb. So it's just pretty recent, around 1.5 years.
Thank you, Aneri. I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of questions to you, and
Sure.
we'll definitely circle back to you through the session.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moving to Pranav. Hey, Pranav, welcome. Glad to have you here. You've been trying to build a huge ecosystem here, and helping startups, helping even companies set up and building over here. So would love to hear your introduction, where you come from, your background as well.
Sure. Hi everybody, and thanks for having us, the Headstart team. I basically lead the capital arm for Foundership. We are a Web3 accelerator that provides coaching community and capital to early stage global Web3 startups. And I moved here with my family in December last year. So it's been about 7-8 months. And I think it's been really wonderful how Dubai has welcomed us. And from a perspective of my background, it was completely non-Web3. So I was doing I was a CFO for a metals and mining business in the US, and coming to a new country and a new industry, I think we're very well placed to sort of say that, UAE has been a great welcoming space. The industry has been super welcoming. The community has been super welcoming, and Foundership itself has found footing in the UAE very quickly, both in Dubai and Abu Dhabi over the last 7 months. And we are slowly building our community locally over here as well.
Thank you, Pranav. Thank you. Glad you could join us. And our last panelist, Yatin, as a Asiarath, initiative, would love to hear from you, your introduction and your background as well.
Thanks, Harsha, and thanks, Taha, for having me over here. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces. My name is Yatin Thakur. I'm the founder of Asiarath. My history is primarily in ecosystem development for early to mid-stage founders. I've been doing that for about 12 years, and I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years. About 2 years back, we decided to find a new headquarter for our own venture. So I represent a bunch of organizations. I have my own consortium, plus I'm a part of a very large entrepreneurship network. Our major job is to support and strengthen entrepreneurship in different parts of the world in partnership with governments. So we do the same here in Dubai with the government of Dubai. Our job is to support growth stage founders, access new markets, help them in identifying new headquarters, and support them in scaling up their businesses to new markets. We do that through a bunch of acceleration and incubation programs. I have some of my partners here in this group as well. And besides providing acceleration and market access support, we also provide capital, and we do capital advisory. So typically we look at businesses raising up to $10 million, where we can participate with up to 30% on the cap table, 30 to 50%, depending on the size. For us, it's been a good journey here in UAE. I was fortunate to move about 2 years back, see all the action happening over here right before Expo started. And then I was a part of a few initiatives during Expo. And then last year, we took a center stage with Dubai Metaverse Assembly. It was good to see Aniket participate in that. And then now we are all set to bring a new acceleration program, or rather a dedicated acceleration space in partnership with the government, which we are launching in next 3 weeks.
Thank you, Yatin. Thank you so much for that introduction. Let's kickstart the whole session itself. The idea of this whole session is to kind of touch base on certain points, like what's the regulations of UAE when it comes to Web3 companies. What is the structuring of the companies that you have to do? What's the visa process? What's the immigration process? What is the banking regulations, tokenizations, etc. So please feel free to use the chat room to kind of post the questions if you have, so that Madhvi will be able to kind of pick it up, and we'll allocate the last 30 minutes for Q&A with all the people who are attending. And also, please, I think if you can just share your name, your startup, and which city you're tuning in from, that will kind of help other people also see where you guys are from and always can connect back with you guys. Let's get started with Aniket with the first question. So Aniket, I think Biconomy has been quite a successful company, and you guys have had a base in Bangalore, I think in India before. And I think recently you guys have moved to UAE, trying to build a complete corporate structure here, etc. So what has been the thought process, and why did you guys choose UAE, and why not any other countries, like let's say maybe the US or even Singapore for that matter? And I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think multiple factors for that, and I think the biggest was one, primarily as like a lot of Indian founders also face, was uncertainty in India. But like I'll come to that later. So Biconomy got started almost like 4 years ago, and I think we started in a similar bear market as that of right now. Like there was no funding, there was no VCs, there's nothing at all, and we were like, okay, how do you actually start a company overall when you don't have any money, right? Like first year was like $5,000 or $10,000, I think we had in the bank, and like we had to run it for like 6 months or something. So first year, like we never did any company registration. It was all like through trust and everything. And then we got like at least some grants here and there, and like some people told us, guys, like at least build a company. How will we fund you, right? Like if you want to raise around something. So we set up a company in Singapore and then in India. Primarily head office was in Singapore, because at that point of a time, things were not very clear in India, and a lot of the investors were not very welcoming to invest in a crypto company that was registered in India. So that was first reason why like we had to like set up a company not in India but in Singapore. This is back in 2020, I think, 19 ending or something. We still had an office in India. We had company and everything in India. things were going fine, and we were like operating the similar way as a lot of Web2 startups work. That was a normal trend in India. Like all the Web2 startups kind of do the same thing. Then last year in 2021, we did a token raise, and we decided to do token for Biconomy because we were at this sort of inflection point where we thought it kind of made sense, and we did like one of the biggest token launches in India, where we launched day one on Binance, Coinbase, etc. And I think the feedback we got, not only feedback, but like as per our advice from a lot of investors and lawyers, that if you have a token company, it's better not to be in India because things are not very certain, and it might be possible everything is fine, but like when you're doing a token project, as there's no certainty around how the government treat token, in terms of which class. So it's better for you to safeguard yourself beforehand. So we had like a couple of options at that point of a time, that UAE, Singapore, maybe someone was suggesting Portugal as well, because that was becoming like a key thing. And it was never the US, because while like most of our team is based out of India or in Asian countries only. So if we have to move to US, of course, it would have been like a total change in team and also the timings as well. So we're like, okay, we have to be around Asia only, or like a jurisdiction where the time difference is like minimal. So now I think the confusion was between Singapore and Dubai. We chatted with lawyers and authorities in like both the countries, and kind of found out that like Dubai was very favorable in terms of setting up the company, getting the bank account and everything. So we I think everything for us got done in in a month, right? From visas to bank accounts to getting an office as well. So it was quite quick, and also it was more welcoming, right? Like in India, it was always like that you have to hide that you have a crypto company, right? It was always the trend that like you don't have to tell them like you're working in a crypto company or something, you have a crypto company. But here, like, it was pretty welcoming. We registered with DMCC, in GLT. We bought an office here as well. So that was very favorable. At the same time, it was also not like a culture shock for anyone for us, because I think the Dubai, I call it like a modern India only. Like culturally, it was very favorable for any Indian founder. Like that might not be viable for or work for any other European or Western founder, but for anyone in, let's say, India, Pakistan, etc., like this is very sort of a favorable culture. So that was also a deciding factor. Other than that, like we still have some developers working in India. So, and there's like we always run like work sprints and all. So if you have to call people from India, we can call them anytime. Like they're like flights probably like every hour. So multiple factors were responsible overall for us to make a decision, and I think we made the right decision. And it's now becoming the hub, right? Like if you roam around JLT Marina, you see like all the crypto founders only. Like that's kind of the major crypto hub now. Yeah, I mean that was how we got started, and up till now, like there hasn't been any problem.
Thank you, Aniket. I think we'll have a little more questions around the whole structuring. Maybe I'll just circle back to you once I ask a few more questions to the other panelists as well. I'll move ahead to Aneri. Hey, Aneri. So I think UAE by default has kind of becoming a very big hotbed for fundraising these days, especially when it comes to kind of Web3. What was the thought process of you guys kind of establishing in UAE? And also, what's the difference between fundraising in India versus UAE, as a overall structure?
Okay. XDC as a blockchain was initially born out of Singapore, and we were pretty much there until 2020, until COVID struck. Now, what happened in Singapore was that it was more of a closed economy, and it did not open very fast, which restricted a lot of business coming in, and we couldn't go out and meet people. So during COVID in 2020, we shifted the entire base to Dubai. Firstly, it was the first one to open up. And second, it was one of the most welcoming for crypto blockchain companies at that point of time. So since 2020, our headquarter is in Dubai, and we plan to remain here pretty much forever. In terms of the fundraising, the process that's followed is pretty much similar in India, UAE, or probably elsewhere in the world, like right from pitching to the investors to signing of term sheet, due diligence, definitive documentation. The entire process is pretty much the same. However, UAE currently is at a very nascent stage as compared to, say, the thriving startup ecosystem in India. Now, in India, the funding has been going on for more than 2 decades and it has a lot of unicorns, whereas UAE has just opened up and it has become one of the most sought after destinations for the global venture capitals, private equity funds, hedge funds. All of them are establishing their offices and deploying capitals in UAE, either Abu Dhabi or Dubai. And also, a great part of that is because of the fact that UAE has a very strategic location and it is a gateway connecting the Africa, Asia, and the Europe region. So you are located in a very strategic place and you can cater to a lot of audience, whatever your startup does. Now, in terms of Web3, I think UAE has a lot of acceptance from investors if you are a Web3 project, and a lot of it goes to a lot of credit goes to UAE because the regulations are very favorable. It's more stable. Things are becoming clearer. Crypto is widely accepted. You can buy groceries in the supermarket using your crypto. You can buy apartments in Dubai using crypto. So Web3 is actually very much accepted. And that's one of the reasons why the investors who are interested in investing into Web3 need to make Dubai, Abu Dhabi as one of their base. Now, also, if you see from a financial point of view, from the investor's point of view, they also get a lot of investors who can co-invest. And that also is within UAE itself. So that also acts as a good de-risking proposition for the investors. Now, apart from the financial investors, there are also a lot of strategic investors. Example, the blockchain networks like XDC, like mine. We usually co-invest with the financial investors, with the VCs, Ps, and if they are built and integrated on a network. There are a lot of accelerators like Foundership who also have established in the region. So definitely being near the ecosystem has a very good and the investors want to get and cash in into the FOMO story. So I think this is the best time if you want to move to Dubai and raise your funding.
Thank you, Aneri. Just one cross question on that. Do you require the companies to have a base in UAE for you guys to invest in them, or are you guys using this as more as an access point to find startups from Europe, Asia, and Africa?
We do not, as a fund, we do not actually require the startup to be established, although a lot of preference is given if the startup is established, because we can do a lot of face-to-face meetings. We can meet them very often. They can take advantage of our ecosystem base that is there here. But definitely that's not like a determining factor. But we usually advise startups to at least have some kind of presence in the UAE.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Moving to Pranav. Pranav, I think as Foundership, you guys have been kind of spreading your wings in UAE for the last 6 to 8 months. And you guys have been doing a lot of cohorts where you guys are mentoring startups, helping them even fundraise, etc. In reality, what is a ground presence of the ecosystem here? What kind of companies are coming? What is the support they're able to kind of get? Considering not from the regulation perspective, but more from a startup ecosystem perspective, what is your thoughts on that?
So I think that's a great way to look at early stage startups. So I want to answer this in 2 parts, early stage and late stage. This is a very favorable investing environment for late stage startups, because a lot of the sovereign funds, a lot of the family funds, are family offices, believe in investing in later stage, and therefore Series A and beyond, UAE, MENA is a great market. For the early stage, there's a lot of angels here and a lot of Russian syndicates, Eastern European syndicates, Indian, Singaporean syndicates that have representatives over here that help you fund companies, especially in the Web3 space, where tokens were a large part of the fundraising initiative or fundraising structure. And therefore, a lot of token companies are based out of Dubai or have a rep office in Dubai. So funding infrastructure wise or funding ecosystem is fairly well present. If somebody comes with the right amount of with the right number of leads, then you can really build your way out from Dubai. In terms of what we're missing over here is more of a developer talent. I think what you have a lot over here is business and growth talent, BD partnerships. So that's the kind of split between, I would say, 20-30% developers and 70-80% non-tech teams. But I've seen product teams which straddle both, also based over here, growth teams which straddle both, also based over here. The advantage that we have with Dubai as a customer ecosystem is that a lot of the corporates as well as the government and quasi-government enterprises and departments are open to Web3 and blockchain solutions. So that I think is super unique because that's not so easy, even in countries like the US and India, of course. So that is a great market over here in the MENA region where somebody can base themselves in the Dubai Abu Dhabi belt and attack everything from Saudi Arabia to sort of UAE, and that will be a unique proposition because a lot of us want blockchain companies, a lot of our startups also want to give a blockchain related service or a Web3 related service to large enterprises. So that is a very big ecosystem over here. The last thing is because there's so many founder and leadership level folks at Dubai or in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, this is having a very close founder community or a leadership community in Web3 especially. So when we say Web3, it's everything to do with blockchain and crypto and metaverse and smart contracts. So I think that community is fairly thriving. As you all know, over here, we do there's tons of meetups every week. So many events. I just call that Dubai as one big festival, 365 days of the year. And there's something happening all the time. All of us keep meeting at these events every 10 days now that September will roll by. And we know, so advantage of being in Dubai is that everybody from all over the world comes here once a year. So you don't need to go all over the world to meet those people.
Fair enough. Fair. What percentage of the startups in your cohorts are actually based in Dubai versus elsewhere? And do you see an advantage of them kind of being in UAE that you guys have presence here?
So yeah, absolutely. So we are now, because we are super early stage, a lot of our startups aren't even registered when they apply to us. Therefore, we are now with our first and second cohort graduating, having startups move here. So only about 20% are currently registered or looking to register over here. But we are also tying up with Asiarath for their launchpad at various at the with the government over here. So the idea is to bring in more of our companies and activate this local ecosystem over here for them as part of our program.
Thank you, Pranav. Moving ahead to Yatin. Hey, Yatin. As a part of Asiarath, you've been helping a lot of startups kind of set up, advise them based on how to structure companies, based on the regulations, what they're building, etc. So what are the even before the structuring comes into picture, what are the, let's say, 3 to 5 things that people have to keep in mind before they decide that they want to move to UAE, set up a company, etc.? What are your suggestions that all, let's say, 3 to 5 things have to be checked before they kind of make the jump?
Well, Harsha, the major thing is obviously everyone needs to have a pressing reason that why do they need a presence in this region. We personally feel, again, I wear 2 hats. One is the community enablement hat where I support companies with the structuring. Under that, we also accelerate and incubate businesses, whereas on the other side, I also wear a VC hat where we have to invest in these businesses. So our suggestion to founders has been primarily the founders have to figure out what exactly are they trying to do. If you are trying to scale up a business, if you are trying to run a global company, then you need to be in a jurisdiction which allows you that global flexibility. And we feel this region, just like Singapore, allows you to do that. It has one of the best bankings in the world. You instantly get an IBAN number. The currency is pegged to the dollar, so there's lesser currency fluctuation. All sorts of currencies are accepted over here, whether it's hard currency or virtual currency or virtual assets. So there is a lot of flexibility, and from here, doing business becomes just so much more simpler. Whether you are doing trade, whether you are providing service, whether you are consulting, things are much more streamlined. The other piece which we see is that the regulators are very active over here. So we have seen there is ADGM, we have seen the DIFC. Both have their own regulatory authorities. For ADGM is the regulatory authority. For DIFC, there is DFSA as a regulatory body. So the regulators take a huge amount of interest in new businesses, and they keep coming up with new and better rules to support these new age businesses. Recently, DIFC came up with a new license just for venture studios. So I can definitely see like Foundership can apply for that license, and all the companies, all the projects which they support, they can be under that macro license, which allows them to raise up to $10 million without setting up a separate entity. And then once that project becomes a business in itself, then also the venture studio has an option to kind of set the project into a separate entity governed by the venture studio till it finally becomes independent and it is ready to be, it's ready to fly on its own wings. So that's the kind of structuring support which we have over here. So to answer your question about what are the things to look at, we feel founders have to see if they are willing to scale up businesses, then this is the place. And then once you come in over here, then there are different sort of structures available to protect your own equity, to protect the equity of your employees, to protect your investors, and to protect your IPs. And on top of that, I think this is one of those few countries which also gives you a visa along with the business setup. Even Singapore does not do that. So, you know, you may be able to set up an entity over there, but you may not have residency over there. And if you're trying to create better tax efficiency for yourself or for your business, then the tax residency status also comes in handy, which UAE definitely takes the lead on.
Thank you for that. And how is the UAE government regulations when it comes, especially for Web3 companies, considering that, you know, for example, like Biconomy is a token-based company on one end of it, and the software-based company on the other end of it. So, how do you see, you know, the regulations working for, let's say, a token-based company versus an equity-based company? How? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know if Aniket wants to answer that. I can give my feedback, but if he wants to say something,
I think we can probably clarify.
Yeah, would love to hear from Aniket. Yeah.
On this overall. So I think the maybe this is where I have to like also hear Yatin's thought, because we are still trying to figure it out. As we as a token entity, we haven't registered in Dubai yet, like the token entity part of it, but the equity entity is registered in Dubai. And we've been like, you know, just talking to a lot of people just to understand, you know, what is the implication if we do like a token registration here. So our token entity is registered in BVI, and that's, you know, sort of, I'll say like most preferred destination for any crypto company like to do a token raise, and that's like very investor friendly as well. But overall, I've been I'll just give you like what my thoughts are and what people have told me. Like I think for equity registrations in a crypto company, you can do businesses in equity, like in tokens. Being an equity company, there's no problem at all. Like, you know, the banking comes easy, maybe like, yeah, mostly easy, like it's doable. And I think there are like clear regulations overall, like for a equity company to come and set up in Dubai. As I said earlier, right, like for us also, everything took like, I think 30 days or something, like for us to get ready and everything. Now, like when, let's say if a company has to do a token, right, like they have to, let's say, start a token and they have to issue like a token regulated entity. On that front, like doing it in Dubai, my take from all the people I've talked to is like it's still in the middle. Like we don't have any clear regulations there. Maybe, you know, this is where Yatin can definitely chime in, where probably like he would know better, like, you know, how it is for a token entity. But being a token entity company operating from Dubai, there hasn't been any challenge for you know, us at all. Now, like if I have to do a token sale and register the token in Dubai, there might not be some challenges. Maybe like, you know, like other guys can definitely chime in here.
So I feel, I think as I said, the regulators are quite active over here, and the regulatory bodies have actually included trading activities around cryptos in their trade licenses. So there are 4 activities which you are allowed to undertake within UAE. So DED did it, and then obviously the free zones have added it. I'll tell you what are the 4 licenses. So there is the proprietary trading in crypto businesses. There is NFT marketplace provider. There is distributed ledger technology services, includes blockchain, and there is metaverse service providers. So these trade activities are kind of identified or published by Dubai mainland, which is the Biconomy department. So definitely the government is quite progressive. On top of that, you would also know last year the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority was formalized. Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority has members from different free zones, has members from the Department of Finance, AI, Future Foundation, the DIFC. So they all collectively have been working on figuring out the regulatory framework. The intent is clear that they want to regulate the token economy. Obviously, it's too complicated because there are just too many different types of assets and services within the Web3 world. So someone is doing DeFi, others are doing fractional ownership of businesses, and then someone is doing these NFTs and tokens on NFTs. So, you know, everything, even the regulators are trying to understand that under each business, what are the possible use cases, how the businesses will work, and what best can be done. I think the easiest piece on a crypto or on a virtual asset is fractional ownership of a real asset. And we are getting to see a lot of use cases coming into life. And I won't be surprised that in probably 1 or 2 years, you will get to see decentralized real estate in this country, where you won't know, like no one will be owning the real estate. It'll be kind of under an exchange, and there'll be someone managing it, and there'll be some sort of economy running on top of it. It's all possible. I feel it's only possible over here. The government is definitely looking at these use cases very closely. That's the reason last year Metaverse Assembly took place, and we were curating different companies to show to the government what are the possible use cases. This year, government has also set up a center for AI. I don't know how many of you are aware about the AI center, but this AI center is actually looking again at AI and Web3, blockchain, and just to see how different businesses are kind of flourishing over here. So a lot is happening, I feel. The best part is, as Aniket, you also mentioned, you don't feel scared to be here. Whatever you are doing, it's all legal. No one is harassing you. While the government tries to figure out what they need to do as a regulatory body, they also provide you enough flexibility and independence to do the business. And there is enough access to the government so you can really approach them and discuss about these things very openly. Like I've met the chief legal officer of DIFC or the chief strategy officer of DIFC, or we have close proximity to the Prime Minister's office over here. ADGM has the same approach. So if you approach them, they are, you know, they are always encouraging you to do things over here, and they're saying, yeah, let us figure it out. We have noted your concern. Let's see how can we make it better. I haven't seen any other government being this progressive and this fast in changing the regulations, or who come up with new regulations and create a more conducive environment for people to be here.
Aniket, should we do account abstracted real estate after account abstracted wallets?
Yeah, I think why not? Why not? It'll be happening. But overall, I think I'll be just backing, Yatin's thoughts around being progressive and accessible overall, because like this first time, like a lot of traditional companies here, right? Like as like Yatin also mentioned, like real estate companies, FMCG sector, they all have like, small R&D labs where they're actually like, doing like POCs and working on, Web3 use cases. Like many of the times, like people just do it just for the hype or something, like, like having like a digital marketing budget to release some NFTs here and there. But here it's not just that, like, they have like actual people just talking to you, because we come from an infra background, right? Like we build all the like picks and shovels, for anyone who wants to do something in Web3. So we do get reach out from, these organizations. And of course, like, these organizations actually take time, but they do have like a, like future proof plan, like on which they're kind of working on. And they're like actual people, like actual teams kind of working on it. So this is where like I've seen like Dubai being very progressive, and, the use cases, what Yatin mentioned in terms of, real world assets onto crypto, etc., like other, merging of Web 2 versus Web 3 in the next coming years, we can definitely see it happening. I mean, already, like, I think there are few companies like working very aggressively on this. Yeah, I mean, like very excited, and we are kind of increasing our base also in the way, like earlier we just came as 3 founders, but now we are like 12 people, and also like we're hiring more and more people, and planning in the next year or two, like just to bring everyone in Dubai. So very long on bullish, very, very long on Dubai, and gonna be here for the next, at least like, coming 4-5 years.
There's another thing, Harsha, I mean, I like another use case. So I think it was about 4-5 months back, I visited DMAX office, the builders. I don't know how many of you have seen the new complex, or this apartment, the new apartments being built near Al Safa on Sheikh Zayed Road. So this is if you guys are coming from JLT back to downtown, just before you hit the downtown, that Business Bay flyover, on the left, you'll see this massive construction happening. That's all DMAC. And this is DMAC's Qawwali Couture collection. I visited their office. So in peak pandemic, obviously they had acquired the land, or they had started this project, and the project got stalled because I think they didn't know what to do with it, or like whatever would be the reason. DMAC invested $100 million to venture into the metaverse, and they created this entire Qawwali Couture on metaverse. And now, if you meet their sales team, so let's say you like Tower C, Unit 1603, they can actually take you into that apartment. They show you how that apartment will exactly look, the full layout, including the full, I think it's a furnished apartment, so everything you can see. And then how the whole apartment freaking looks like in the morning, evening, early morning, midday, during sunset, and in the night. How the skyline changes and stuff like that. So, that's where like a real estate group has gone to that level, invested so heavily, So I was sitting with them and I was asking them that, guys, like, are you serious? $100 million on like venturing into this? What do you see? They said, we will make sure that our vision is eventually we will turn our real estate inventory into an e-com portal. So you could literally go there and you can block your inventory. And I'm pretty sure on top of that, fractional ownership will come in, because not everyone is putting in $1 million or 2 million dirhams on an online portal, right? But if you say, okay, this is the unit and own it for 10,000 dirhams, you might instantly invest in it. So larger groups are also in it, and if they are putting in so much of investment, I'm quite hopeful that there's a lot of potential and scope for other Web3 companies as well.
Thank you, Yatin. I'll just quickly move to get Aneri's point of view on this. So, I think in 2021, 2022, the whole narrative was towards the whole tokenized based fundraise, and slowly it's moving back to equity. But still, we see that certain Web3 companies have that a mix of token and equity based raise. So, what is your point of view, and how do you guys see from a fund perspective?
So from a fund
considering it from the UAE market as well.
Okay, so from a fund perspective, we strictly invest into equities only. Our previous investments were a mix of token as well as equity fundraise. Now, currently, because of the gray areas as well as a lot of time taken in getting approvals, example, we were interested in a company in Switzerland, which was a token investment. However, because of COVID, they could not end up getting FINMA approval, and we waited for 6 months, 8 months, but they could not get the listing approval. Until date, I think it's not got the approval. So slowly and steadily, we realized that it's better right now to do equities. Probably a time that may come wherein that there are more regulations which are clearer. There is no gray area. We might venture out into doing token as well as equity. However, having said that, we do have a lot of prior investments which are into Singapore, which are token based, and that is also a co-investment with one of the leading co-investors into the token space. So that's how we derive our comfort. But for now, we are strictly equity.
So in case if someone has done a token round prior to this, would you still go and invest in their equity round as well? Are you guys open to that?
Yes, we are.
Yatin, back to you. I think one of the biggest questions, at least I have been asked in the last 1 year, and I think we've had a couple of discussions over the time, is free zone versus mainland, and which free zone, what kind of structure, etc. I think it's the hottest topic for anyone who wants to kind of move to UAE, because everyone has their own opinion. So would you like to take a couple of minutes and kind of lay down, like how to think? I know there's no one answer for everyone, but what is the thought process one should have, and what are your suggestions being here for 2 years? And, I'm assuming at least a couple of dozens of companies have, been registered, and you guys have helped taken off. So would you like to give us certain pointers on that?
So good question, Harsha, and it's a very controversial answer, because a lot of people are like behind me that why you making certain suggestions. So when I came in 2 years back, we were also in a free zone, and today this is like my biggest mistake. I feel that I shouldn't have been there. But when I came in, the 100% ownership rule did not exist. So you still needed a local partner over here. So see, there has been discussions or conversations happening around the world around global taxation. So the tax havens are also coming under scanner, and countries like UAE, which are progressing, and rather the whole of Middle Eastern area, the whole of Gulf region, is now taking a center stage in the global economy. right? 3 state heads visiting in last 3-4 days is the biggest indicator about how the movement is happening over here, including our prime minister taking a detour and visiting just for a day. And the Turkish president is currently here. He was in Saudi before this. So things are changing, and this is becoming the epicenter. Now, as part of these activities, whatever stuff which is happening and the trade becoming more globalized, taxation is kicking in, and that's the reason taxation kicked in over here as well. There's 15% corporate taxation in Saudi, and 9% has been imposed over here, which will also eventually go till about 15%, because that's the minimum taxation rate fixed up by all the OECD nations whenever the conversations happen. So when taxation comes in, then I feel the role of a free trade zone automatically goes down, and that is what has happened even over here. Free zones existed because it allowed you to trade freely, as long as the trade was either within that periphery or boundary, or the trade was outside the mainland of the country, and that's why the mainland is called a mainland and the free zone was called free zone. With taxation coming in, for businesses like ours, which are service-oriented businesses or technology-oriented businesses, the taxation implies to us irrespective whether we are in mainland or free zone. The only tax exemption is majorly for businesses which do not touch the shores of Dubai outside the free trade zone. So let's say a Jabal Ali or something is happening at airport, but majorly it's Jabal Ali or any other port zone where goods come in and goods go out. They stay within that jurisdiction and then they're out of the country. So with that kind of an approach, when everything is coming under taxation, I don't see any benefit of a free zone for any businesses outside a traditional trade business. Now, to add on top of that, this is also a country which allows you to build very beautiful holding structures, okay, where your IPs can be protected and they can be held up by a holding entity, and so can be your equity and your own assets. So, on top of that, personal income and dividend income has been kept out of the purview of tax. So there's no personal income tax. In this kind of a setup, I feel it's better to operate in the mainland where things are much more structured, the rules are set, and you are regulated by the country or the city rather than being regulated by just a periphery or just a piece of land, whoever is operating the land. So, and if you want to protect your shareholders, if you want to protect your IPs, then you need to be, you need to have protection through some sort of a law, either a common law or a country's own law. In a free zone, the jurisdiction lies with the free zone entity. And tomorrow, if the free zone tends to change anything, you tend to go for a toss. And that's why we advise everyone to go for a mainland structure. And if you are raising money, if you have your IPs in place, if you have a lot of investors, then definitely build a holding structure, either in ADGM or in DIFC, because both are well-regulated, well-recognized international trade zones or international financial centers, IFCs, and they're governed under the English common law. Plus, these international free zones are tax-free. So if any dividend income is paid to these entities, they would remain under the outside the ambit of taxation.
In short, Yatin, I think
Hope that
Yeah, I
was.
think definitely. What if the company doesn't necessarily provide service for the local market? Do you still need to kind of have a mainland company, or is that a good use case for exploring the free zone?
As I said, Harsha, that if you are a service company, it doesn't matter your entity, you are taxable. That has, so I had shared that, in fact, in our groups also. I don't know if you went through that clipping. If you are a service-based business, then irrespective of your structure, you are taxable.
Got it. Thank you, Yatin. I mean, guys, just a warning. Please consult, your relevant person before registering the company, because we have seen that a lot of companies who come here out of random advice given to them, they sitting in India or even maybe coming here trying to get into a particular free zone because of cost or various reasons, and then later regret, and they'll have to change the whole structure. So it's advisable to spend a little bit of more time to trying to understand this and get the right structure in place. And I'll move back to Aniket. Aniket, are you here? I see you've dropped off.
So he dropped off. He had a 7. He had a 6.
Cool. Okay. Then I'll move ahead. So Pranav, back to you. So I think with the whole crypto majors like Binance, Polygon, etc. in town in UAE, so how do you see that as an advantage, and how for the whole ecosystem to grow? Any pointers on that for us?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So one advantage with Web3 and blockchain is that there are no jurisdictional boundaries that apply, because payments in crypto are global. You don't need to depend on a banking system or a MasterCard Visa to move money across. Similarly, most of the products are digital in nature or virtual in nature, and hence, again, do not require things like a courier, supply chain, etc. to deliver or create. And therefore, it's really useful to be, it's really freeing to be based anywhere in the world and build for the rest of the world. The advantage with having large enterprise level crypto companies or Web3 companies around you, even XDC at Aneri, Aneri's company XDC is another L1 chain. And like you mentioned, Binance, Polygon, OKX, Reef, Fire, a lot of them are based over here, Nordec, and we regularly talk to all of them. The advantage is that it's a lot more easier to organically meet these teams while you are in the city through the year, so that as and when you require something, you have access to them and they already know you. And it's not like, hey, this is the first time I'm meeting Aneri and now I have to ask her for money, right? So if you've seen that person over the last 6 months, 1 year, they've seen you grow from an idea to a product to a revenue generating company, and now you go to them with a request, it's much more credible. The other advantage is that sometimes they may be looking out for young startups, they may be looking out for certain types of projects, and they may actually reach out to you saying, hey, I'm looking for a game that's built on the blockchain, and you have a PUBG like game, Harsha, why don't you think about integrating with our chain, which is, or why don't you launch on Binance Labs, or why don't you launch on our exchange? And when are you getting your token out? So the advantage is a lot of the ecosystem learning, knowledge, experience gets passed on in person through the local community, which you miss out if you live in a non-connected city. So I think in this region of the world, Dubai clearly leads the pack. Even I would say Bangalore in India is a clear winner in that sense. And Singapore, Hong Kong are clear winners when it comes to the East. So definitely, I think it's a huge advantage. Like we'll go to events. You all have been to events in blockchain, crypto, Web3, and bumped into folks from these companies, right? So that's pretty rare if you don't live in one of these 4 or 5 cities I just mentioned.
So, yeah, thanks, Pranav. And also, how do you see partnership opportunities, product showcasing, incubators and accelerator partnerships, etc., working out of UAE? but they can be based outside. Like what is the advantage of them kind of reaching out to ones in the UAE?
So the advantage is like what we are doing, right? We're trying to bring a program, we're trying to add and extend our program by 4 weeks with a concept called Global Delivery Center. So we're saying that if you're building out of any part of the world, but if you come and spend 3 to 4 weeks with us at the end of your cohort, we will help you connect to investors, we'll help you connect to founders, will help you connect to partners, will help you connect to ecosystem players like exchanges, VARA, regulators, companies that help you set up companies over here, advice on legal, tax, etc. The logic being that if you come and spend 3 4 weeks over here in a big ecosystem Web3 hub, you will be able to get exposed to some things within 4 weeks, which otherwise would take you 3 months of work across several meetings and several leads, right? So we can compress that into a very high action, high value few weeks versus spread out over multiple people. And when we also have 10 founders who are building in a room, it's an incentive for chains, for exchanges, for others to come to that room and discuss and see what people are building on. You never know what innovative ideas you can discover. So for us, as an incubator accelerator, we feel that UAE is super important and definitely something startups should consider. This ecosystem has the biggest advantage, I feel, touching on what Yatin and Aniket were saying earlier, is that we have clarity. As a founder or a young startup, clarity is more important. Even if it says clearly that it's not allowed, at least you know what you shouldn't do and you can't do, right? The problem is opacity or haziness. And now I'm trying to guess what I'm doing is above board or not. And therefore we end up in a bad situation, which we cannot undo, especially as funded companies with global investors, etc. So I feel the clarity of what you can do and what you cannot do is super important for early stage companies. The Web3 rulebook is being written now. The playbook is going to come in the next few years. So the accelerators that are based in hubs like this, Silicon Valley, of course, London, Singapore, Dubai, will be able to keep in sync with those developments and basically be on the cutting edge of the industry as it grows and evolves.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just quick question to Aneri. From a fund perspective, what type of companies do you suggest to move to UAE? What is this company structure, and at what stage one should kind of incorporate or move or set up the whole structuring? Any thoughts on that from a fund perspective?
I think from a fund perspective, we usually deal in early stage companies. So those between seed to Series A is what we look at. But I feel that UAE is a market which actually serves the startups at all the possible growth stages, right from pre-seed. You have accelerators like Foundership who incubate you even though you don't have anything ready, just a good idea. You go through the rigorous process and you come out much better than what you are. In case you are Series A, there are a lot of advantages, something as simple as getting access to capital from global investors. There's a lot of local and global talent available. So you might just end up getting your co-founder at one of these meetups that keep happening in Dubai all the time. And I think that's very much important at the seed stage wherein you're just growing up. And it just massively increases the ease of doing business. And also, at whatever stage you are, because of the range of meetups, conferences, events, which are like held almost every day, you end up meeting a lot of like-minded people, and you have a very good network around you. So I think there is no stage specific from my point of view. I think whatever stage you are in, it's a good time to move or at least establish your business in Dubai. And just like what we spoke before, it's becoming very clearer. There are regulators such as DFSA, FSRA, VARA, ADGM who are coming out with a lot of policies. So I think it is always good for companies which are currently present in regions which don't have a clear regulation, taxation law in place, to move to a more to a region that's very much accepting. Now Hong Kong is also coming up, so I think Hong Kong is also one of a good places to move to and set up your companies there. The Hong Kong has just come out with laws, I think June 1st week, which are going to regulate. There are tokens that are going to be listed on the Hong Kong stock exchanges, not Hong Kong crypto exchanges. So I think there is a lot of things that are happening in UAE itself. I think I read an article where there are 3,000 crypto companies just registered in DMCC. DIFC is also coming out to house around 500 Web3 and AI projects. So a lot of things are actually happening in Dubai. And I think whatever stage you are, it's always a good idea to move to the UAE.
Thank you, Aneri. I think that kind of makes me think about one important question that's kind of been happening in the whole startup ecosystem. That's about the whole banking regulations. We hear that a lot of companies are not able to open bank accounts, etc., to do it as well. So maybe Yatin and Aneri would love to hear from your perspective. What are the banking regulations when it comes to Web3 or in particular crypto digital asset oriented startups? And what are the main challenges that one usually faces, and how does one navigate that? And it'll be easy for them to kind of start operating from the UAE.
Yeah, so I think opening banking accounts is definitely tough, especially for startups who are just coming to Dubai, do not have a very good connection here or a network here. I'll give you an example. Even for us, it was pretty difficult to get a bank account in place. However, VO, I think, is one of the easiest banks where you can open accounts in if you are a crypto company. So that's something that's pretty much doable. But on the other hand, I feel that yes, there is a lot of documentation that's required. There is a lot of background checks which happen, which kind of delay the process. VO was open pretty fast for us, but I think if you go to the more traditional banks, that definitely takes a lot of time. Sometimes it can actually go into months if your documentation is not clear. There's a lot of back and forth. And also because if you are like one of our companies is actually, we have a crypto license into trading of gold. But it took them, even though we had a Sharia compliant as well as a DFCC trading license, it actually took us more than 3 months to open a bank account for that particular company because of the massive documentation that's required. So I think, yes, from my experience at least, and from those around me, it's definitely a little bit tougher to open company bank accounts. Personal, I think, is much more easier as compared to the company crypto accounts, especially.
Thank you, Aneri. Yatin, what about your point of view?
I tend to agree with Aneri
Yeah,
also for Yatin sort of concludes, because this definitely his is the last word on this. So I personally feel that corporate accounts over here are a little dicey for startups because they expect some relationship capital in many cases, and that becomes a bottleneck. Also, because a lot of times we don't have resident shareholders or resident directors in the Dubai UAE region. So, but if somebody, so my suggestion to anybody who's planning to set up here or is already set up, maybe too late for you, but for a new entrant, please plan these things and do not trust agents who roam the streets of the world promising things, because it doesn't work like that. So I'd rather have you come here, talk to the agent, talk to the banker, figure out that it works, and then engage the agent. Otherwise, if they can't give you that assurance, then they probably can't get you the bank account as well. But if you have the right structure, if you have the right advice, it is really something which is pretty as routine as any other country in the world.
Again, controversial topic, but I'll say, guys, it's not that hard if you know your structures well. I think for us, from setting up a company to getting your investor visas or partner visas to opening up bank accounts, both for you personally and your company, takes about 10 days. But it depends on how well you are structured. Obviously, we have learned it over a course of time. And even if you are a free zone company, it opens up. It's not that hard. Obviously, there are certain free zones which are high risk free zones because they tend to open up companies very quickly. So banking with them takes longer than other free zones. The other thing which you need to keep in mind is your address proof. So a lot of businesses open up over here, but they don't have physical offices, and banks do not have any way to check your physical presence, and that's where most of the issues come up. UAE permits companies to be set up without an active office space, so they allow you to do a virtual registration for first year, and obviously with free zones, they provide you a shared space or a shared lease, which banks cannot trace, and banks are well aware about that because they are like just probably over 100,000 companies across free zones. So it becomes very difficult for bankers to trace it. But if your structure is right, if your entity is established well, then banking is not at all difficult. It can take anywhere between 1 day to about 7 days at the max. For us, corporate bank accounts, we are able to support in opening up in 7 days flat. So if you sign the paper today, you will have it by next Thursday. We have done it way too many times, and it has worked. Obviously, Pranav and Harsha know about that. A lot of our friends use it. If in fact, Taha's some friends have also availed those services. So it's just about understanding things to look at. I would like to cover those aspects. It is very important for you to assess and determine what activity are you planning to do in your company. If you are doing any payments related business or any financial transaction related businesses, then there are regulatory bodies, and if you are trying to set it up without the regulatory approvals, you will face issues. Asset management being one such business, fintech being another such business. So within the blockchain world, if you have for decentralized financing, it'll be very difficult because it has to be regulated by somebody. And if you don't have that regulatory approval or license, then banking will be more tricky, and then you are in super high risk category. So it's a very different country because obviously there's global wealth over here. Every second person over here is a millionaire. So they are used to dealing with a lot of money, but that also comes with a lot of complications. And hence there are strict measures, checks and balances in place. So, but if everything is clean, if you have your records in place, if you have clear trail of documents and financial transactions, you don't face any issues.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people from Dubai, 4 millionaires, huh?
Thank you, Yatin. I think, guys, we have kind of overshot by almost like 20 minutes. I think it's time to kind of wrap up. Before that, quickly, I'll just get through to each of the panelists, starting with maybe Pranav. Pranav, so if people want to kind of apply for Foundership, how do they reach out to you?
So I'm going to drop our website in the chat, and that's got the programs section, which has the programs, and feel free to apply. But we are super active as a business, as a community on all social media, Twitter, LinkedIn being most of it. And feel free to hit up any of us anytime, Foundership HQ, the handle, or me personally, or any of the other co-founders. And we'll definitely be able to guide you on what we do and how we do it, and whether it's useful for you or not.
Thank you, Pranav. And Aneri, what about you? How do people reach out to you? And if they want to kind of apply for XVC fund?
Yeah, so I think the best way would be via the website, since most of the applications that we receive need to be on a more central location so anyone can access at any point of time. So we usually fund in early stage seed to series A, and we prefer companies which have a minimum viable product ready and at least a few revenue paying customers. So that's the stage at which we start funding. So that's one thing. And secondly, if you are a traditional Web2 company wanting to shift to Web3, more like a transformation case, that's also a good project that we would be looking for. I have just shared the link in the chat. So anyone who wants to apply can just click on the link and fill in the questionnaire and apply.
Thank you, Aneri. I'm sure you got a lot of applications from here. And Yatin, what about you? And how do people reach out to you and Asiarath and try to understand and get your consultation?
It's easy, asiarath.com. They can go in. Most of the information is listed over there. Our Launchpad's website should be up and running, and then obviously we have all the friends like you. So if anyone needs any help, I'm pretty sure they can come through any of you guys. And obviously the Headstart channel, the Dubai Startups channel is quite active, so it's easy to reach out. We are there to support everyone, and I'm fortunate that we have partners like you working tirelessly with us in strengthening the ecosystem in Dubai.
Thank you, Yatin. And I just want to extend thank you to all the panelists for kind of making time and kind of joining in. I think we had a very fruitful session. A lot of information being dropped. And everyone, please do join our WhatsApp group, Headstart Beyond WhatsApp group. Taha, if you don't mind, Taha or Madhvi, if you can just drop the link just in case if someone is not joined from there. And in case if you feel that anyone from your network is looking for help, please do ask them to join through our WhatsApp group. We'll all be there. We'll be able to help you out. We can drop any questions at any point in time. In case if relevant people are not there, we'll be able to happy to make those connects as well. And also, Taha has taken the opportunity to kind of even share all the good events that are happening in Dubai related to crypto. So please do bookmark it or copy it so that you guys are able to plan your visit to Dubai. And if you do visit here, please attend our Startup Saturdays, which usually happens second Saturday of every month. And we were looking forward to meeting you as well. And I'll hand over the mic to Taha. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Harsha. I think, first, it's great to have all of you guys. I think the panelists, Pranav, Aneri, Yatin, and Harsha themselves, right? Amazing discussion. I think blockchain continues to be a very growing ecosystem in UAE. We see a lot of founders coming down, and I think the type of insight that you shared about the ecosystem being open, the flexibility that the government is providing, the openness that is there, but at the same time, really understanding what you need. I think that's very important. Being in this ecosystem, we have seen a lot of founders come in the urgency of coming in, but the base work not being right has led to more problems. I think that's the reason why it's important that if you're coming in, just come in, explore first. Company setup can happen, but I think it's important to come and build the network in. Like Aniket also spoke about, right? I think for them also, setting up the Dubai entity was a very later stage in time. It was a lot more about understanding the community itself. There are a lot of active communities. Of course, Headstart has chapter. We have Dubai startups. There are a lot of other blockchain communities. Foundership also has a community itself. So, feel free to join in, leverage the community. I think the community is a great platform for bringing all the enablers together. That actually helps it out. We will also be doing a lot more deeper master classes on each of the different topics, from understanding the ecosystem in UAE to setting up a company over here. How do you take on and create value in these events that are coming up? How do you actually build a network in this ecosystem? So feel free to join those boot camps as well. That will be super powerful for you guys to also understand. And like how Pranav, Yatin, and Aneri shared, their website. I think these are great mentors that are already here in this ecosystem, extremely approachable as well. So feel free to reach out to them, with the right questions. I think that's going to be super helpful. So that's it for the second session of the Beyond Awareness series on blockchain. We have our third session happening on 28th July, next Friday, same time, 6:30 p.m. India time. That's on D2C. We continue to see a lot of brands from India, physical products, apps, also exploring the Dubai and the UAE market and the Middle East market. And that's one session. We are also bringing in experts from the D2C space in this ecosystem, people who have built big ventures in this ecosystem, who have built the distribution network, investment network in the D2C brands. So feel free to join that session as well, or share this session to other founders in your community, especially the ones who are in the D2C space, who are looking to explore that. So hoping to see you guys next week as well. Thank you again. Thank you, Pranav, Harsha, Aneri, and Yatin for joining us, and the entire Headstart Beyond team for setting up the entire platform for getting all the participants together. Thank you, guys.